This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. Psychic Suzanna, helping you find emotional, spiritual, and physical balance. What does your future hold? It's time to find out with Psychic Suzanna.
Yes, you're here. You're right where you need to be. This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. Now, you can find us both at psychicsuzanna.com or Life with Psychic Suzanna on KFAB. After the show, if you want to hear it again, please go down to either website, and by Tuesday you can download it and listen to it anytime you want. If you hear something here today that is going to help you or somebody you know and they want to listen, pass the word. This is the show that makes you a winner in life because it helps you and empowers you to be the best you can be with everything that comes your way in a day. What we want to do at this show is help you to look into your future in a way that can make it better for you. Now, today's guest, I must tell you, I have not talked to him in person except for a couple of minutes, which I think I sounded like a crazy woman, but that's okay. We can do that. He is with the Hendricks Institute, and do I have you on the air, Dr. Gay Hendricks?
Yes, you do.
Well, welcome to Omaha and the Midwest. We're a lot chillier here. Where are you at this moment?
I'm in Ojai, California, which is about an hour and a half north of Los Angeles, and I was wearing a short-sleeve shirt this afternoon because it was almost 80 degrees here.
Well, thank you very much for adding that to this program. The first thing I want to talk about, and one of the reasons I've decided, I am a friend of yours on Facebook, so I read your postings, and your postings are conscious living, correct? If we want to be your friend, it's called Conscious Living.
Well, the main one on Facebook is Relationship Advice.
Okay. I've never seen that one.
Facebook.com/relationship advice.
Okay.
That's the one. There's probably several, but the main one you should go to for the relationship stuff particularly is Relationship Advice.
Okay. Well, I must tell you, I got impressed with you because I saw your posture while you were holding the golf stick. So I thought you would be a man that would know how to get the goal of having a healthy relationship in your life. And I understand your wife is your partner in this adventure. Is this correct?
Yes, for the last 30 years. Kathleen and I, she also goes by the name Katie around the house here, so you'll hear me call her Katie sometimes. She and I have been together for 30 years and have been around the world, I think, over 30 times in that time, teaching our relationship seminars and writing our books and that kind of thing.
And when we're talking about relationships, what would you say would be the first signal that you should go into a relationship with someone? What would be the first signal that would say, this will match me, this will make me better? What would you say?
I think one thing is that your body, your vibrational body, will almost always give you really great information if you're tuned into that. A lot of the things that we teach here in our institute have to do with helping people learn to use their whole being as a broadcasting beacon for manifestation and also as a receiving and giving transmitter for love and consciousness. And so the first thing to pay attention to is vibrationally how you feel around that person, because you will often notice red flags going on in different energy centers of your body. You might awaken fear in that center in the middle of your body, or it might awaken sadness or excitement. It could be a number of different things, but your body will give you good information about whether the person is a good person to be with. So that's number one. Number two is how they respond to the things that you feel passionate about. Like when I met Kathleen, I was really passionate. I just realized that I messed up relationships when I wasn't absolutely honest. about my feelings, like if I felt hurt or angry or sad or scared or excited or whatever, if I wasn't absolutely honest about my feelings, I would always mess up the relationship, because then I would start projecting onto the other person that they weren't safe, or they wouldn't handle my feelings and that kind of thing. And so I realized one beautiful day also that it was about responsibility for me, that I didn't want to be in any more relationships where people blamed each other. And so the very first time I met Kathleen, I said to her, I'd love to ask you out for coffee, but I want to tell you that I just awakened to the power of honesty, and I only want relationships where both people are honest with each other, and I only want a relationship where both people avoid blame and just take responsibility themselves for the things that come up. And so I was so excited about this, and I said to her, on those terms, would you like to go out and have coffee with me? And
wow.
So fortunately she said yes, and here we are 30 years later.
Well, what would you think then, what would you say are the biggest barriers, and how do you know the other person is truthful to you when they say, because there's so many game players. How would you know that someone's being honest and with integrity when they answer you, let's be truthful?
Well, that's a beautiful question. I appreciate that, because one of the things you have to do is go by the evidence, not by what people say, because if a person says they're committed to honesty, but then they show up as being dishonest over and over again, there's a gap there between their conscious intention and their unconscious intention. And one of the keys to successful living is being willing to completely own your unconscious intentions by looking at the results you create. So that if you create a lack of honesty in the relationship, then you've got to admit to yourself that you're unconsciously committed to lying, not to telling the whole truth all the time. So the way I think it is, you have to make a commitment to a certain way of being, and then you have to keep showing up that way over and over again until it becomes second nature.
Okay. Dr. Hendricks, we're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we will come back to you in just a few minutes. You are right here with Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB, and Jim has a mouthful of steak while he's going to the... Don't say anything, Jim. Don't talk with your mouth full. Let's go to the commercial break and try to clear your mouth, please.
Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. She knew I was going to say that.
Yes, you're here right where you need to be with Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. Please, you can find us at PsychicSuzanna.com or Life with Psychic Suzanna on Facebook, or you can always go to KFAB and download the show any old time you want. This is the show that empowers you to be better every day. And we are right now talking to someone who was in shorts earlier today and missed the snowfall and the blowing whiteout that we've had here in Omaha. Dr. Gay Hendricks. Hello, Dr. Hendricks.
Hello. I'm getting chilly just thinking about it. Hearing about that.
We had a 30-car pileup on the highway today. On the way back to my home. So that's interesting. I've got a couple things. We're talking about relationships, and I like this, what you're telling us, that we should really trust our senses when we're talking to somebody and what our senses are telling us about what that person is saying. But the couple questions I want you to fill me in on is how, if you're having these feelings and you feel this person is not being open and honest with you, how do you move out on that decision to not invest more in the relationship? Also, I want to know, if you're looking for a relationship, what is the single most important thing you can do to get into a relationship or make the relationship you're in more authentic? That's actually 3 questions. Take it away.
Yeah. Well, they're great questions, too. I appreciate it. Well, first of all, I'd say the number one thing that I've worked with people on that help them manifest a great relationship, and this is going back over, roughly 20,000 people I've worked with over the past 30 years, I'd say the number one thing is that many people have an unconscious desire to get into a relationship to have somebody love them.
Right.
But the problem is that if you come into a relationship wanting the other person to love you, it means that you haven't learned to love yourself at a deep level. And so the only way to make a relationship succeed is not to have it about you and about confirming your lovability. Both people need to take on the job of loving themselves and valuing themselves. And out of that comes two people who know how to love and honor themselves, and then they can really love and honor the other person. But a lot of us go into relationship kind of lopsided, where we're maybe taking 150% of the responsibility and letting the other person only get away with taking 50%. Or
and
maybe
one of the things I always say is you can't ask another to love you if you can't love yourself completely. And that's
yes.
even standing in front of the mirror naked. If you can't love who's in that mirror, you can't ask someone to love you. But if you don't feel you're worthy of love, can you ever have love? Or how do you get worthy of love?
Well, the way I look at it is that all of us have the capacity and the capability to love. And the beauty of love, the thing that makes it so magnificent, is that love is the only thing that's big enough to embrace its opposite. In other words, you can love yourself for not being able to love yourself.
What?
Love is that big. Yes.
Explain that one to me.
Well, the part of us that feels unlovable,
right,
is the only thing that needs to be loved. And the fact that we could even have that thought means that we have the capacity to love that part of ourselves which we consider most unlovable. And love is that big. You can actually check it out for yourself. You can actually, right this moment, any person that's listening can find something really unlovable inside themselves and feel how you can actually open your heart to that and accept it and love it. It's a capability that human beings are gifted with. It doesn't have to be learned. It comes free from the factory. And so that all we have to do is learn how to steer it.
So if there's a habit like an anger or something that you don't like about yourself, you're telling me that I should look at that anger and love the anger? Is that what you're telling me to do?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Will it dissipate if I do that? Or
yes. Yes, it will absolutely dissipate. You have to feel it for yourself, though. I mean, I can tell you that, but it's only by self-discovery that you can prove it to yourself.
Wow.
But it's powerful. It's very powerful because all of the things that trouble us, like anger or fear or sadness or some life event that we haven't been able to get past, if you really focus your loving consciousness on them, they begin to shimmer and break up and disappear.
Now, we could probably use this with all relationships, our family relationships, everything. So if we have, this is a very interesting side I've not heard before. I'm trying to grasp it as we go. So you're saying that our weaknesses, or what we believe are our weaknesses, is also part of us that we need to love to empower it to go away?
Yes, that's exactly right. Because if you think about it, the alternative doesn't work very well. The opposite doesn't work very well. In other words, hating that part of yourself doesn't make you any happier, and it doesn't make the thing you're hating go anywhere. It just kind of locks it into place. And what I'm saying is that only love has the enormous power to embrace those things and actually disappear them. And it does them in a form of what almost feels like magic when you learn how to do it, because it's kind of like making something disappear with pure consciousness.
Wow. Is there one single thing or something we can do to attract a relationship right now if we find ourselves on Valentine's Day not in love relationships? Is there something you would suggest we do?
Yes. Let me say one big thing, and then three smaller things. Number one, do what I was just talking about. Find the unlovable in yourself and give yourself the love that you would want another person to give you.
Okay.
Love yourself that way first. And then come up with the three absolute yeses and the three absolute nos that you want in a relationship. So what are the three things that above all you desire in a relationship, and what are the three things that you absolutely do not want to repeat again in another relationship?
Can you give us a couple of examples? I'm going to need some help with this. I, like you, have been married 35 years to a wonderful man. So I'm pretty content in that happiness. So I don't want to draw a lover, but for those who do, what would be the three things that you would suggest that, give me an example so we can let our audience understand it.
Three absolute yeses and three absolute nos. Like for me, absolute yes was I really wanted a person that I could be honest with and that wanted to be honest with me. Number two, absolute yes, was I really wanted a person who was committed to her own creative path, because I'm very passionate about writing. I've written 33 books, I think it is now, and so I'm always writing a book just about every year. So I wanted a person who was equally passionate about her creativity. And number three, I really wanted a person who was very passionate about the subject of taking responsibility, that they didn't want to waste any time blaming and criticizing. Criticism and blame are the number one things that erode intimacy in a relationship. And my wife and I completely eliminated it. Nobody in our family has said a critical word to the other in probably 15 years now that I can remember. And it's a very delicious state of consciousness to live in a state, in a world in which there is no criticism or blame, and we've created that here, and I'd like to see it spread all over the world.
Well, we're going to have to maybe just do a show on that, because I that sounds quite different and unusual and maybe almost impossible. But tell me, I'm going to need to have you on again to talk about that, the no blame, the thing, because blame is such a wonderful reason to make yourself feel good when you can blame another for your problems. Which is pretty unhealthy.
I think it's a drug. It's like a drug addiction. You get used to a little burst of adrenaline when you point the finger of blame at somebody.
I've got only one more minute, and then I want to let people know how they can get a hold of you. But can you give me a sample of three good things that or three things we don't want to repeat in a relationship?
Yes. In my first big relationship as a grown-up, anyway, I manifested a woman who was had problems with alcohol. And then after a lot of turmoil, we ended that relationship after a few years. But you know what I did? I went out and I manifested another relationship then with a woman who had addiction problems with drugs. And so I began to look, I started blaming them. And then I realized, wait a minute, who's the one who actually attracted them? That was me, And so I had to get down in there and say, okay, here's an absolute no. I don't ever want to attract another person with chemical addictions. And, it worked. I haven't ever since then. And right after I got clear on that, then I manifested Katie in my life. And, she likes a cup of coffee now and then, but that's about the strongest thing she likes to drink.
Okay. All right. Again, I want to thank you. You've really given us things to think about, and we're going to have to take time and replay this again and again to understand everything you've said. Tell us how we can find you.
Well, the easiest way is to go to our main website, which is Hendricks.com, and that's spelled HENDRICKS.com. And that's probably the best way to find out all about our seminars and books and the various products that we have.
Okay. Thank you very much for being with us, and we look forward to talking to you again. God bless.
Many blessings to you. Thank you.
Bye-bye. That was Dr. Gay Hendricks. Right now, we're going to take a commercial break and find out all the neat things we need to know about this world. Let's make it a great day. Let's come back.
Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB.
Yes, that's right. You're back here with Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. I want you to know you can find us at psychicsusanna.com, or you can go to Life with Psychic Suzanna on our Facebook and become part of our group. I'm treating you very well today, Jim.
Oh, outstanding.
Besides bringing you steak from the shark that you had in your mouth when we were talking earlier.
I know it seems kind of rude, but
I now have brought you eye candy.
Oh, I know.
Now we have eye candy.
I'm falling over myself over this one. Believe me, I am.
Yes, he is. And right now we have with us someone called Brooke Matthews. But before, do you think you ought to give out the phone numbers?
I think that'd be a good idea,
Okay.
by golly. We need to get this phone bank just lit up like a Christmas tree, as they say.
Do it.
Toll free is 1-800-543-1110. That's the toll-free line, 1-800-543-1110, or locally, 558-1110. So let's get the callers dialing up and talk to Psychic Suzanna.
Okay.
Susanna, take it away.
Now, right now, I have with me a very special friend of mine named Brooke Matthews. Welcome to the show, Brooke.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Now, Brooke has been Miss Nebraska, correct?
That's right.
Uh-huh. And, Brooke, may I be able to tell people your age, that you're soon to have a birthday?
Sure, absolutely.
And how old will you be this year?
The big 3-0.
When will you be the big 3-0?
July 15th.
Okay. And so you're the big 3-0, and you're a knockout.
I'm not the big 3-0 yet.
No, but you're close to the big 3-0.
Come on, give me credit.
And you're a knockout, okay?
Thank you.
All right. And you're getting married this year, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, to be this beautiful, okay, and to be not married until you're 30, tell us, what makes you, how can a woman who's looking for a man, what lessons does she need to learn that you can tell her about the gold that is at the finish line when you marry?
Well, I think what did it for me was when I finally became happy with myself. Nick and I, we dated, well, we didn't date for very long before we got engaged, but we'd known each other for about a year and a half before we started dating. And
at that time, though, for the year and a year and a half, you were involved with someone else, correct?
well, yeah, I was.
Okay. So the question
I
is,
kissed a lot of frogs.
the question is, in kissing the frogs, what made you decide, or what do you think made the difference to have someone fall in love with you?
I was happy with myself. I had the most fun I'd ever had in my entire life with my girlfriends, and I was perfectly happy. I prayed every night, God, reveal this man to me. I want to find this special person, but I also was to a point where I was okay if that didn't happen. I knew I was still going to have a happy life. So deep down inside, I was truly happy with myself.
So you think the way to find love is to be in love with yourself?
Yes, just as your prior guest said, it's so important. That was profound, and it's absolutely true.
Okay, and so in doing this, and there, I have people who come to me at 14 and 16 saying, "Is he forever?" And I have to be the one who tells them they're not forever. What should I tell them about the importance of waiting for the right one? What is the lesson in waiting for the right one? What?
Oh, because good things come in time.
Do they?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, I was the 14 or 16-year-old that had those same questions. And I think it's important for you to tell those girls that there are lessons to be learned from every relationship you have. But it's not until that you've grown up and you're really happy with yourself and okay with being the woman that God has destined you to be, at that point is when you're truly ready to find that special man who's going to love you as much as God loves you.
That is all I needed to hear. That was the perfect answer. Thank you for coming up, Brooke, and sharing that with us. Again, the thought is that you are beautiful. You were beautiful from the beginning, and yet you've waited for the right one at 30, even though you wanted it at 14.
Oh, yeah.
So the importance is of being patient and being ready on the inside. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Brooke Matthews. She is engaged to my friend and owner, Nick Hudson. of nomads.
Prince Charming.
Yes. Well, you're Prince Charming. I have another Prince Charming, but we'll go back to that. And